Do we want to do a fun intro, or we want to get right to it?
No, we got to get right to it. And I wanted to do so much more. This freaking doctor appointment, man, it was like at 3:30, and he kept me there for like an hour and 15 minutes. Hold on. Now I'm like all flustered. Damn it.
Wayne Gallman.
Would it be better if I just left, like, wasn't a part of it?
No.
Why would that be better?
I got nothing. You guys' heads could be bigger then.
Adam, I think most of us have nothing right now, man.
Correct.
Except for BJ. So we'll probably get torn apart for this mock draft.
You guys have done all.
It'll be fun. Look,
just come with a take.
Yeah, just have a take. Like I
back.
haven't done any film or anything this draft season.
Yeah.
So
We can make up takes, just throw out some buzzwords.
Yeah,
He's
fluidity.
I'm
going to use fluidity all the time.
Athletic.
Got great fluidity. Yeah.
High upside. All right, welcome to episode 7 of the Vikings Territory Roundtable. I'm joined as usual by the very talented Vikings Territory staff. Boys, let's introduce ourselves really quick because we have a lot to get to this episode. Unfortunately, we're missing Drew tonight, but he's going to be chiming in during the episode. As you guys know, we're closing in on the draft. We're just a few days away. So today's episode is obviously going to be very draft heavy. And what the goal of today's episode was kind of to give everyone a glimpse into the VT war room. We're going to do a 7-round mock draft. Obviously, it's more of a 6-round mock draft. We'll just kind of watch the first round go by like we will on Thursday. But first, I wanted to, we have some kind of breaking news that happened this morning that I feel like we should probably touch on really quick because if we wait on it, we probably won't get to talk about it in another roundtable. So really quick, 5-10 minutes or so, let's talk about Adrian Peterson. So we found out this morning that Adrian Peterson signed a 2-year deal with the New Orleans Saints. I don't know if anyone has the numbers on them, but I think it was a 2-year, $7 million deal, yep. something along those lines. I don't know that all the details are known at this point as far as incentives and whatnot. But of course, week 1, the Saints are coming to US Bank to open up the season against the Vikings on Monday Night Football. Obviously, the NFL had to have the inside scoop on this, I would guess. So I just wanted to kind of see how you guys felt really quick about this. I don't know, where are you guys at? I mean, Peterson, Monday Night Football, US Bank Stadium. I don't know. What's your guys' thoughts? Any one of you can chime in. I don't have anyone in particular.
I think that kind of says how everybody feels. Aren't we all a little bit indifferent at it by now? It is what it is.
I'm shocked that it was the Saints. I didn't ever expect that. I mean, good for Adrian that he found a team, but I don't see the fit schematically with New Orleans. Week 1's going to be fun, though.
I mean, when I saw a couple weeks ago, or maybe a week ago, that he had been talking to the Saints, as soon as the schedule came out and you saw that Monday night game, I felt like it was almost certain that he was going to end up there because I couldn't really see any other real reason to have Vikings Saints as the first Monday night game of the season. Usually they try and have some big storyline or 2 elite teams playing each other on that first Monday night game. So I felt like there had to be something else going on there. And then, to find out that Peterson's going there, obviously that becomes an instant must-watch game for not just Vikings fans, but everybody. So, I mean, I don't know. Do you guys, do you think he's going to come into US Bank and tear us up? Is there any concern about Peterson taking that first snap against the Vikings?
No.
Sam?
Yes.
EJ?
No, I just itch back here. I don't have any concern.
Did you say yes, Adam?
Yeah, I think a little bit. I mean, it'd be so Vikings for him to come and put up 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. And it's the Vikings, so of course that's the type of thing that would happen to us. And B, it's Adrian Peterson, and every other time in history I've doubted the guy. He's proved me wrong. And as long as it's not the postseason, every time Adrian Peterson has a little added bit of motivation, he seems to do really, really well. So, it could be a Carlos Hyde thing where he comes in just like Carlos Hyde 2 years ago, and week one absolutely destroys the Vikings defense, and then peters out for the rest of the season or whatever. But yeah, I could see him coming to U.S. Bank with a chip on his shoulder, and would.
There's part of me that doesn't even think he starts the game though. What about Mark Ingram? Isn't Mark Ingram still a Saint?
Yes.
Sean Payton said that they signed him to play a complimentary role to Mark Ingram, who's coming off the best season of his career and plays virtually the same game of 1990s to 2005-ish football at the running back position. So you're looking at a veteran or a guy that's been doing it well for the last couple of years, running their system, knows their system better. I don't even know if Peterson's going to get more than 8 or 9 touches. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
For 100 yards.
That's very possible too. I
think what Warwick is saying is the more like you're using Vikings logic, which in that sense I think it would be very Vikings to have him come in, rush for 2 touchdowns, 85 yards or something like that, and the Saints beat us like 27-24 or something like that.
Yeah. And he scores a game-winning touchdown. They bring him in for like a goal line snap, and he scores a touchdown and wins.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, from the logic standpoint, it's a high vertical offense that Drew Brees runs. He's not going to be running the Adrian Peterson system in New Orleans. Sean Payton, this is the one thing that boggles my mind, by the way, is that Sean Payton's still the head coach there, the same guy that was, privy to the information of the bounty scandal, and yet he's his new head coach. That's what really phases me. Greg Williams is obviously gone. He's in Cleveland now, I think. But it's still weird. That's the weirdest thing for me, is that Adrian Peterson was willing to go. How far was he willing to go just to sign and play football again if he's going to sign with the Saints, who have the head coach of the guys that basically had to kill him in 2009? Just that's kind of my overall.
I can pretty much guarantee it's all about the money, and I bet the Saints were probably offering the most money. I mean,
but that contract wasn't that difficult for any team to sign.
Yeah, and I think that tells you something about Peterson's market value, probably.
Yeah, the kind of teams going after him.
I would say that's really accurate.
So we could spend a whole episode on this. I don't want to, because we have to get to our 7-round mock draft. But really quick, I kind of posed this question on Twitter. Do you guys think he's going to be when he takes his first snap? Do you think he's going to receive cheers from Minnesota, or do you think he's going to receive boos from Minnesota?
Boos.
Cheers.
So you guys I think our poll actually had more cheers than boos, but
he deserves cheers.
Minnesota, nice. I say
he
boo.
does deserve cheers. Real quick, guys, I'm going optimistic when you're talking about 2 touchdowns. I think an Adrian Peterson fumble will prove crucial to the outcome of the game, and the Vikings will win. Remember this is week 1. This is early on in the season. They have to lift our hopes before crushing them at the end of the game.
And Peterson.
Good point.
And Peterson is kind of he usually gets off to a slow start at the beginning of the season. I think so. I don't have any stats to back that up. That's just kind of a.
And in free agency.
Yeah.
Pretty accurate.
And by the way, sorry if I'm coughing throughout the episode. Dealing with a little sickness right now, a little cold. I'll try and mute it if I have any attacks or anything. But all right, so now that we talked about Peterson, let's jump right into the draft. So we're going to do a 7-round mock draft, 6-round mock draft. The way I kind of envision this working is we're going to use FanSpeak, which, by the way, I got to give FanSpeak some props really quick. These guys are awesome. We emailed them to see if we could get our VT consensus big board, which is available on VikingsTerritory.com. We emailed them to see if we could get that added to one of the big boards that you can use on this mock draft simulator. And Megan with FanSpeak was super responsive, and they got it added within a few hours. So that's really going to help make things easier for us tonight as we're going through and doing this mock draft. So, I mean, if you enjoy doing this sort of stuff, you got to head over to fanspeak.com, check out their on-the-clock mock draft simulator. So anyway, so like I said, we're going to be using this simulator, and we're just going to run through each round. Once we get to the Vikings selection, we're going to look at who's available, have a little discussion about it, and make our pick. I'm not expecting it to be unanimous selection. I think maybe as long as we get the majority. we'll be fine as long as we can come to some sort of agreement on who we're going to select. And that's basically it. Once we get to the end, we'll recap the players that we got. Like I said, we're going to be getting, since Drew couldn't join us, we're going to be getting some instant pick grades from Drew. So we'll be sharing those throughout the episode as well. So anyway, I guess we should just get started. So we're going to start the first round, and let's see what happens here.
Oh, Garrett's off the board.
Oh, O.J. Howard, Adam, off the board.
Dang.
All right, so we're going to give it a second. It's getting to us. And this is probably how we're going to feel Thursday, just
Ooh, McCaffrey to the Colts. I like that.
sitting around watching all these amazing players. Oh,
Dalvin
there went
Cook.
Malik McDowell
McDowell,
and Lamp. So
Makes sense.
I know we've all done a few mock drafts to kind of prepare for this episode, and Lamp was available in a few of them, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen today. So that's the end of the first round. I'll just scroll through it really quick so we can kind of look at who got taken.
Pat Mahomes to Arizona. Nice. I like that.
Fournette to the Ravens.
McCaffrey over Fournette.
Like we said, McDowell to the Lions, Lamp to the Dolphins.
John Ross to Oakland. Man, imagine that. Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree, John Ross, and Cordero Patterson in Oakland as their wide receivers.
Sounds like two really good wide receivers.
While we're waiting for this to load, nice shirt, Austin.
Oh, thank you.
Where can
That's,
you get that shirt?
Disgusting.
courtesy of Vikings Territory.
Oh,
A disgusting act.
That's really nice. All right, so that was the first round. We're going to start the second round now. Watch more players fly off the board. Taylor Moton.
Smith, Buda Baker gone. Alvin Kamara gone. Dang it.
Zach Cunningham's gone. That's my guy.
All right, here we are. Hey,
All
look,
right,
Evan
we're on the
Ingram.
clock. So we didn't get any trade offers, so we don't have to deal with that. That will happen probably throughout this mock draft. Okay, so now, like I said, the ranks next to these players that you see over here, those are actually from the VT consensus board. So if you go to VT, we have our big board, and those rankings align with the rankings that you're seeing on FanSpeak. Let's run through like the top 10 people that are available per this. Quincy Wilson, Adoree Jackson, Chidobe Azui, Sidney Jones, Evan Ingram, Zay Jones, Jordan Willis, Chris Wormley, Dan Feeney, Deion Dawkins. So
Joe Mixon.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, and I stopped right before Joe Mixon. Pat Elflein, that's how you pronounce his name, correct? Is that correct?
DJ?
And,
Sure.
and Dorian Johnson. So I don't know, BJ. Maybe start us off. What are you thinking here, based on what you're seeing on this board?
You're seeing a lot. You're seeing a ton of value here for one. Joe Mixon, obviously, tremendous value, regardless of how you feel about his personal characteristics at this point in the draft. Deion Dawkins from Temple has been one of my favorite players throughout this process. He's an absolute mauler and a guy that can play offensive tackle as well. Dan Feeney is the consensus guy that all Vikings fans seem to like. He's a stay-at-home guard that offers very little versatility, but he's got a high floor, and it looks like he would be able to step in immediately at that right guard spot. Zay Jones, wide receiver from East Carolina, one of the most productive players in complete football history. There's a lot of value. Sidney Jones from Washington, obviously he's coming off that Achilles injury, but that's a top cornerback that you could get that sort of emulates what Xavier Rhodes does.
Yep.
Tyus Hauser from Houston is a great edge rusher and kind of represents that high ceiling guy that the Vikings have passed with Crichton and Hunter.
So who are you leaning, BJ? And then we'll get some input from someone else.
I would lean Dan Feeney here because that you're absolutely shoring up your guard spot. Curtis Samuel, I have too many question marks about to take him this high.
Okay, so I'm kind of between Feeney myself.
Yep.
And I could maybe see Joe Mixon here as a possibility. If it was me making the decision, if I'm Rick Spielman, it would be Dan Feeney. I wouldn't take a running back before I'm taking a potential immediate starter along the offensive line. So that Dan Feeney would be my choice as well. What about you, Austin?
Yeah, I like Feeney. I don't see Mixon going to the Vikings, even if he's there. Feeney's a guy that, like BJ said, everybody likes. And I know Matt Miller, if this was real life, Matt Miller said the Vikings at least are looking to fill holes along the offensive line. And if they're going to do that, it's going to be with a player you can plug in at right guard in Dan Feeney. So Dan Feeney's my choice. There's really no question for me.
What about Sam? Sam, you like some ham?
I like some ham. Yes.
You talked about Dan Feeney on the latest episode of Bump and Run, which is available on YouTube right now.
Thank you for mentioning that, Brett. It's probably in the related videos if you're watching this thing. Yeah, I agree. Let's not overthink it. Feeney's the guy that's value and need at this position in the draft. Joe Mixon, yeah, you got to glance over there, but I think that there are so many good running backs in this draft. We can get one later for the Vikings here. So yeah, don't overthink it. Let's go Feeney.
Adam, you agree? I mean, we don't need you to agree because it's 4 at this point, but I just want to see if you do agree.
Well, you know how I love to be the outlier. Obviously, there's a lot of value there according to our big board at cornerback and then tight end. And all know I want to get a tight end in this draft class.
We're not drafting Jake Butt with the second-round pick, Adam.
But I don't think the value's there quite yet for the tight end. I think the value at cornerback and tight end will be especially there when our next pick rolls around in the 3rd round. I co-sign on the Feeney pick. I think it's unanimous.
Dan Feeney.
Piece of cake.
It's done.
Easy.
All right, so now we're up. There goes Joe Mixon to the Bucks. Sidney Jones to the Dolphins. There goes a tackle, Antonio Garcia to the Giants.
Adoree Jackson to the Cowboys. That's a good pick. Deion Dawkins to the Packers. That stinks.
That's annoying.
And Alvin Kamara. I know BJ loves him. He went to the Carolina Panthers.
He's all right, yeah.
All right, so we're running. Now we're going to go into the 3rd round. Start the round. There's Pat Elflein to the Marines.
Curtis Samuel.
Oh, Derek Rivers off the board.
Okay.
We're on the clock.
We're on the clock. All right, so we'll just run through this list again. Raekwon McMillan, Josh Jones, DeMarcus Walker, Ryan Anderson, Terrell Basham, Jordan Lewis, Justin Evans, Dede Westbrook, Chris Godwin, Gerald Everett, Ethan Kosic. Got it. And that's about the top 10, I would say, right there. So I'm not seeing, if we're talking about need, and I know sometimes we don't like to talk about that, Adam, but I'm not seeing any in our top 10 any real positions of need at this point. So I think if we're going to go need, we're probably going to need to go past BPA. Not saying we have to do that, but But
I think Raekwon represents a need. Because
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
McMillan here, you can flex Eric Kendricks out to the weak side and have Anthony Barr stay home at the strong side and trust Kendricks in your coverage at linebacker, which solves my personal issue on covering tight ends. I really like Josh Jones, too. For going back to what Warwick said in the 2nd episode of the Roundtable about getting a partner for a running mate for Harrison Smith. Josh Jones from NC State is an excellent pick. He's a guy that can kind of drop into the box and can also play zone coverage, so I like a lot what he offers. I talked about Basham in the last round. Justin Evans the same way, and Chris Godwin from Penn State's a guy that I really like. Wide receiver that can on the outside that he gives you that ability to move Thielen and Stephon Diggs around even more. I like all those guys, but I think Ethan Pocic as well. There's a ton of versatility there for a team that seems to get a lot of injuries to the offensive line. Guy that can play center and guard. And he's also, I think he has some, I believe he has some history of playing tackle as well. So Duke Riley, bottom of that list, kind of is just hiding there from LSU. He's also a nice pick. But you got to keep in mind the Vikings are drafting again in 7 picks from here.
Yeah, so, and I can pretty much guarantee that's another thing to think about. Great point, BJ. That a lot of these guys are going to be available. I mean, there's a chance we could get Eason Pocic with that second, 3rd round pick. If we are to roll the dice on Raekwon. So where do you see him projecting in the Vikings defense? I mean, do you see him inside and pushing?
Your Mike linebacker, your stay-at-home Mike linebacker, that would be only probably playing about 30 to 40 snaps, but it allows you to be more comfortable in your base defense He essentially would be taking over Chad Greenway's role, or his spot on the roster, but flipping Greenway's role with Kendricks.
Okay,
That makes sense.
Sam, Austin, Adam, what are you guys thinking?
So,
Go ahead, Adam.
so one of the off-season priorities this year has been to improve the running game, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
The run blocking.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's been stated over and over again they want to get better at run blocking. We've heard it from Zimmer over and over. So what if we had a 6'7" tight end that was athletic enough to line up at wide receiver and overwhelm a defensive back on a running play, but also still athletic enough and rangy enough to be down in the red zone catching touchdowns? Kind of a joker. I like Bucky Hodges at this point.
Okay.
I see where Adam's coming from, but it is important to remember that we do have that pick come up in 7 picks, and I think Hodges has a good chance to be there. I don't think McMillan will probably be there. So for that reason, I'd go with BJ. Linebacker was one of the needs I brought up in bump and run as well, and I think actually bringing in that Mike linebacker and sliding Kendricks over to a position that Mike Zimmer has said is probably his natural position is an ideal fix here at linebacker, so I'd go McMillan personally.
BJ, really quick, 10-second scouting report on McMillan. I mean, do you know him well enough to say, what his strengths are?
Yeah, he's a fundamental tackler he's gonna improve your run defense, which has been an issue for the Vikings. He doesn't have a ton of versatility in coverage. His man coverage skills are lacking. He's not exactly a specialist in that regard, like a guy like Zach Cunningham, but he's definitely going to give you that Mike linebacker leadership role that can absolutely play inside and is kind of built for a 4-3 system in a base defense.
Okay, Austin, you're the only one that hasn't weighed in yet. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, my initial reaction was get someone like Ethan Posich, just build up the offensive line depth like we've talked about all offseason. But I think someone that stands out to me, and I'd like BJ's take on this just because I've heard good things about him, is D.D. Westbrook. I know that the Vikings obviously drafted Treadwell last year, but you lost a couple receivers this year, and I feel like Westbrook would be at least a decent fit. Is he a burner? Is he a slot guy? How would you define him, BJ?
Westbrook is an interesting character in that he's not that fundamentally sound, but he's going to catch passes. He's going to be great in space. So he's a guy like Cordarrelle Patterson. If you get the ball in his hand, he can do a lot of damage with the yak. If we're going wide receiver, I actually prefer Carlos Henderson from Louisiana Tech, who's a couple spots down the board there, just because I think he has more upside than Westbrook does. But with that said, Westbrook is a little bit more proven in that he was a big part of, the Oklahoma offense last year. He was the Blitnikoff Award winner, so obviously he's an established wide receiver. So,
Yep.
I like.
And if I had to kind of concede this pick, I would say McMillan probably gives you a little flexibility with moving. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking here. Moving Kendricks outside, play McMillan inside. So if the war room, so to speak, wants to go with McMillan, I'm okay with that. But my choice would be Posich.
I think Posich will be there next time we pick. And so I think we can continue this conversation and maybe talk about Posich versus Bucky Hodges. I feel like we're going to have to throw Adam a tight end bone at some point. So,
and to be honest, if this were the Vikings war room and McMillan were available and he was 6 spots ahead of the next guy, I would hope that they'd take the guy that fills a need and is the best player on the board. I think that's a smart thing to do. I co-sign on that pick, absolutely.
Okay, so McMillan?
Yep.
Okay.
And guys, perfect. Hey, now I'd like to bring in Drew's analysis of our first pick, the second-round pick. Drew says he loves it, bringing a day one starter at right guard. A. We get an A out of the gate from Drew. So
yes.
All right.
This is important, man. These draft grades, we got to make sure we're pleasing Drew, man. got to make sure the fans are happy. So, all right. So, we're on the clock again. I'm sorry. So, after our pick, DeMarcus Walker, Josh Jones, Ryan Anderson, Gerald Everett, Terrell Basham, and Alex Anzalone. So Ethan Posich is still available. Bucky Hodges is still available. D.D. Westbrook is still available. In an effort to speed this thing up, what are you guys thinking? Just right out of the gate. I mean,
Chris Godwin.
oh, so you're going to throw a new person into the mix that we haven't talked about yet.
Chris Godwin or Marcus May?
I got Marcus May. Marcus May was my choice.
You wanted Postage last time.
I know, but I didn't see May on the list, so I'm kind of leaning May. I want a safety. I want a safety who can play deep, play in the box. Kind of gives you again flexibility. I think Zimmer likes to have just anywhere on his defense. So May kind of sticks out to me.
I like Ham, so I go Postage.
My vote is for Posich.
Ham.
We're split 2-2 to Warwis.
Wait, so hold on. So me and Sam got Posich. Austin and BJ have. You guys are saying Marcus May.
Marcus May.
Adam, you got to pick one of these guys. It's come to that. You can't.
I can't just overrule you and pick my guy.
No. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
No. I'm just joking. Honestly, I think the need is very similar at those two positions. I don't think it plays a factor. So, again, if we were in the war room and Posich was, let me do my math, 5 spots ahead of May, I think you take the best player available, and according to our big board, that's Posich.
I'm comfortable with it. I wanted him before, so.
Okay.
I'm with it too.
So far, we've got Dan Feeney. In the third round, we selected linebacker Raekwon McMillan and center/guard Ethan Posich.
And guys, I got Drew's grade in on our second pick, McMillan, and he says he likes it. Very solid. We're letting the board fall to us. Barr, Kendricks, McMillan, solid trio. A, he promises not every pick will be an A, but this is also an A. He was also not surprised that Adam was advocating for a tight end.
How did he know that? We're not live streaming it right now. It's pretty impressive. Are we on ESPN? All right, next round. Fourth round.
2 more picks, unless
For it to load. As far as wide receiver goes, does anyone else think that the market is going to be flooded in the third wave of free agency with somewhat young and talented wide receiver depth?
Michael Floyd.
Like Michael Floyd?
Rod Streeter, guys like that.
Well, the Eagles, I think at last count, they have 33 wide receivers on the roster. Joking, that's an exaggeration. But, I mean, it just seems like a lot of teams have a lot of depth, and they're not going to be able to keep them all, especially after, 8 rounds, essentially, of draft picks happen. It just seems like there's a lot of wide receiver talent in the NFL right now, too much to be rostered. Do you guys think that's accurate? Especially when you're comfortable with your bigs and Jarius Wright, and you're at that point. By the time you're to the third round of the draft, you're looking at depth guys anyways, really, if you're being realistic about it.
I think a lot of teams are waiting until after the draft to see what happens and then start bringing in those lower-tier free agent wide receivers.
I'm saying a number of them getting cut during training camp or during final cut.
Okay, I'm sorry, I wasn't following. So what's your question, Adam?
Do you guys see the market getting flooded with somewhat youthful wide receiver talent before the start of the season?
I absolutely do, and that's why I don't think it's as big a need in the draft as some do.
That was the point.
Yeah. All right. So we got a trade offer really quick. I guess we can just look at this quickly and see if we want to move on it or not. Personally, as far as trades go, my personal opinion is I'm not really interested in acquiring a late 6th round pick.
Yep.
This year, I'd be more interested in future, maybe some 2018 picks. I just think we kind of already have a surplus of picks, outside of the first round, obviously. So my first inclination is to not really entertain these sorts of trades. But what do you guys think? We got one from Oakland, move from 13 to 22, and then get 2 7th rounders, and then one from Detroit, move from
Can
first.
Who's there when our pick rolls around?
Yeah, and I'm not sure. Usually it waits to let us get to our pick to send the trade offers, but this time it didn't. It didn't. So I'm just going to go ahead and decline it, not knowing.
Tell them to keep walking.
Yeah. And then we're going to start this round.
Hodges is still there. Henderson's still there.
Jake Butt.
Taywan Taylor's there too.
Oh, the Clemson tight end is still there.
Goes Butt.
Oh, okay, so there's another trade offer.
2.
Yeah, I don't really like that. Either
No,
of those.
I don't like that.
I don't like either of these. No.
So. Okay, so
We're on the clock.
yeah, I believe we're on the clock. Hey everybody, it's Brett. Have some bad news. Unfortunately, at this point in the episode, we paused recording to deal with some audio issues we thought we were having. When we turned the recording back on, something happened and it was only recording the audio. That means there is no video for the remainder of this episode. Really sorry about that. Feel really horrible. However, please feel free to listen to the audio. We'll still finish the rest of our mock draft. However, if you're not interested in watching this video without anything to actually look at, I don't blame you, and you can just skip ahead towards the end, or I'll put the final mock draft results on the screen. Again, really sorry, guys. Was not feeling well for this episode and not on my A game for this one. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll get it straightened out next week.
We got Drew's pick for his grade for the second, third round pick. He says part of the reason he went McMillan earlier, he liked McMillan the same round we did, was because he was banking on postage falling 7 more slots, just like we kind of were. He likes the depth that gives the offensive line. He gives the group a B for not being unanimous on the postage pick.
That's not.
That's on me and Austin then?
No, it's on
Apparently.
Adam.
No, he liked postage. It's on Austin and BJ.
Okay,
Yep.
I'm fine with
We'll have to
that.
ask him.
So we killed the grade. All right.
Yeah, thanks a lot. We
He's good.
had a
I'm
4.0 until you guys screwed that up.
Let's deal with the issue at hand here. We got some
Yes.
nice players available still here in the 4th round.
Go ahead.
I like Taywan Taylor a lot from Western Kentucky. He doesn't get the same level of, I guess, media circus that Forrest Lamp has gotten from the same school, but he's an incredibly talented player that you can move around your offense. Jordan Lega, I've talked about a million times, is a great red zone threat, and he fulfills Warwis's tight end need. I like him a lot. Cameron Sutton from Tennessee has sort of gotten underrated as a cornerback because of how deep this class is. Dwayne Smoot from Illinois is an excellent edge rusher and, again, presents one of those high-ups guys that Mike Zimmer seems to like. DeMonte Casey on the engagement list makes a lot of sense to fill that nickel role. Isaac Asiata is Matt Asiata's brother, so I would probably stay far away from him. Corn Elder has one of the best names I've ever seen ever, and he's a prototypical nickel cornerback, so if you're looking for that, that makes a lot of sense. And way down at the bottom there at 139, you can kind of see Elijah Lee from Kansas State is a guy on the Vikings engagement list and another linebacker that if you are looking to build linebacker depth, which I don't necessarily think we need to because we drafted McMillan already, he fills that void admirably as well. And Eddie Vanderdoes is also an excellent kind of nose 3 technique mold guy that you could move around on the inside. So I think there's a lot of value at this point in the draft for sure. And Chad Hansen and Isaiah Ford are no slouches either at wide receiver.
I blacked out during everything you just said. So I have a couple questions. Dwayne Smoot, I mean, when you see the name Smoot, kind of makes you wonder if he's from the Fred lineage. So
he's not. I checked that. I checked that instantly as well. He's not from that lineage, but made me think of the same thing.
Is he actually related to Matt Asiata?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, why would that be a negative for you? I need you to chill out on the Matt Asiata hate.
I was kind of just joking around. He's actually a pretty solid guard prospect in Utah. Also, he played alongside Garrett Bowles at Utah, so he obviously has some experience playing along NFL talent. So he might have picked up some of those traits. So there is, there's some upside there for sure.
Okay, and I will also co-sign the Corn Elder name selection there. So I don't know, Sam, Austin, Adam, you guys want to chime in? BJ gave us about 20 different players that he likes, so you guys want to narrow it down for me a little bit?
Sure. I kind of like the name. I know he's lower on the list, but Katie Cannon, the receiver from Baylor. I know we just talked about receivers and there being kind of a gluttonous amount in free agency later, but Katie Cannon's one of those guys who is the field stretcher that I think they were looking for in Rod Streeter. So that could be a name that I think intrigues Spielman. Other than that, though, I don't want to keep adding guards and centers. We've already got a couple linemen. This isn't going to be a lineman-heavy draft. If you're looking for an athletic tight end, the kid from Clemson, is it Leggett?
Yeah, Jordan Leggett.
Yeah, he's one of those prospects that didn't get a lot of run at Clemson, but I think could be a nice piece. In the fourth round's kind of a place where the Vikings like to take chances on players, so I'm thinking offense in that regard, tight end or a receiver.
I have an emotional connection to Tedrick Thompson, the Colorado Buffalo.
I was waiting for that.
At the bottom, but I tell you what, to be honest, I like what Austin said regarding Leggett. I think that he could be a good piece right here, and it would make Adam happy. And that's all any of us actually want. So that would be my pick here.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any crazy values from our board at this point. I mean, I guess what I mean is there's no one that's 60th on our board, and then it goes to 97. I mean, they're all grouped relatively closely. Something else to keep in mind is that, once again, we're going to be drafting in 8 more selections. So,
hey, Brett, why don't you go ahead and check out what the running back board is looking like at this point, because that's a position that I think we still need to fill at some point, and we haven't really even talked much about it beyond Mixon so far.
Do we need to fill that role?
See, that's kind of what I was expecting based off doing one of these fantasy earlier, is that you're going to lose all of your primary targets at running back early, but the Vikings prepared for this by bringing in half of the prospects available at the running back position, and you know that they've talked to Brian Hill, Jamal Williams, Corey Clement, who else is on that list? Aaron Jones as well, Joe Williams from Utah. So there's plenty of guys still available at the running back spot.
Yep.
I just wanted to double check that. I think we can absolutely wait another round. I just wanted to, highlight that position a little bit here.
Yep.
Okay.
If it's up to me, I'm going with Jordan Leggett. By the way, that's my pick here. I think what Austin's analysis said was very good, and I'm all for pleasing Warwitz whenever possible. Job is to please your boss, right? So.
I don't like Leggett.
Did you say you don't?
Leggett?
I don't like Leggett.
Damn it.
He's admitted he's admitted that he's lazy. He said it publicly.
Randy Moss is lazy.
No, Randy Moss is not lazy. He's losing and he's a sour loser. But
everything off the rails. Dang.
But he's lazy.
Okay, I would say Taywan Taylor then. Taywan Taylor would be my pick here then. If we're not going Leggett, I like Taylor a lot in the value sense, and I like that triple threat that you could move him, Thielen, and Stephon Diggs all around your formation, inside, slot, outside, split end, whatever you need to do. You have so much versatility if you're Pat Shurmur, and in a short passing game that makes Yak very important, he's the type of player that I want on my team. All so right. I would go with Taywan Taylor.
Guys, we're running into a Kevin Williams situation here. We're already on the clock. Who's after us, whatever team's after us, is already up there giving their pick. People are going to start flying off the board here. So what do we want to say? Do we want to say Taywan Taylor since Adam freaking threw our Leggett pick off the rails?
Yeah, Leggett if majority rules. I mean, but
well, we're only doing it to satisfy
blocking. I don't think he gets on the field if you talk about character concerns. Laziness is a character concern. It's not of the same variety as your Joe Mixon or whatever, but if a player can't get on the field because he's not a willing blocker, then he's probably not that great of a tight end to draft even in the 4th round. And that concerns me. That's to me that should be a giant red flag, and I bet you some teams have him off their board because of it.
Yep.
I think we got to defer to our tight end expert and also our overall draft expert in BJ. So I think
BJ, we're gonna go Taywan. I'm fine with that.
Yep.
I would go with Taylor, yeah.
All right. Boom.
We got another pick coming up in...
Yep. Harvey Lange, Ryan Glasgow, trade offer. Get a future, but it's a 6th rounder. These are...
I would say...
The Lions are offering a ton of picks, but again, it's like, what are we going to do with all those picks? We're just going to make the episode an hour longer.
I don't think you need those.
I'm going to decline.
Yep.
I think the Lions trade offer is a good offer to take, but
I just don't know that we need that many selections this year. I don't know where all those guys go.
I don't know if we can afford to have that many.
Yeah. Okay, so we are...
Ooh, I see that.
We're on the clock. Again.
Jordan
Leggett
is still there.
That's because he's late.
I'm going to throw a curveball here, and I'm going to say that Dwayne Smoot should be the pick. And here's why. I like the value here as an edge rusher. I think that he's a type of player that has high ceiling and the ability to kind of step in when Brian Robinson retires in 1 year. So the depth at defensive end is going to fall off a cliff once Robinson retires. You're going to be sitting there with basically a 3 technique into Tone Jones, Everson Griffin, and Danielle Hunter, but you have no kind of horse behind them like you haven't had in the past. So I think Dwayne Smoot makes a lot of sense value-wise here. It's not a big need, but I really like his high ceiling, and he plays with a high motor, and he's got good. I like him overall as an edge rusher, so I think he presents a good option as a 4-3 defensive end.
Okay, what about Corn Elder?
Yeah, when you talk about falling off in terms of depth, I think slot corner is a big need. We've discussed that previously, and Corn Elder displays a lot of the same toughness and instincts that we grew to love out of Captain Munnerlyn.
I would agree with that too.
I'm not saying that he's going to become Captain Munnerlyn, but of course that's what the draft is all about. And I think Elder would be a solid choice right now. I'll just throw that out there.
Yeah, I'd also like to say, too, that a lot of these drafts are about getting good grades for your picks. And I know that if we pick Corn Elder, Drew's going to give us an A.
A++.
And he's going to want to not give us an A because he said he's not going to give us all A's. But he's going to love that pick. And
does it carry any weight that the Vikings have talked to KZ specifically? Does that carry any weight here? Because that's a player that they've already engaged with, and it kind of has a nickel role lined up for him in the NFL as well. So should we prioritize him over Elder because he is a guy that the Vikings have shown interest in publicly, I should say?
You're kind of the expert on that.
I'm asking from your guys' general perception here. Does it make the draft, our specific fan speak mock draft, does it make it a more wholesome, better mock draft if we pick a guy that the team seems to have already... I like Elder more, for what it's worth. But okay. I think that the team has shown interest in Casey and fairly similar prospects.
I think we should treat this as if we were doing the draft, if it was our decision.
And we would draft a guy named Corn.
Yeah.
So there you go. Right.
I like Corn, I like Smoot.
A jersey with Elder on the back? How awesome is that going to be, man? Come on.
Pull the trigger.
Yep, do it. I'm happy with it.
Everyone's good on Corn Elder? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If we're drafting by jersey, though, we got to make sure to get C.J. Beathard.
Guys, I have a grade for our Taylor pick. Drew starts his analysis with you, and says a hard C. Plenty of wide receivers that have better values should be here in the 5th or 6th. He says, thank you, BJ, for letting him give us a low grade.
He knew.
Just tell him he's going to love the next pick.
Yep.
Just wait until Taywan Taylor tears it up in the NFL. We can look back at this and pat BJ on the back a little bit for that decision.
All right, we got 3 more picks, guys. Day 3.
Ooh, Smoot. Okay, now I think we got to be thinking running back, like, pretty hardcore.
Well, is what's his name still there? Brian Hill's still there. However, he's 171 on our board, which suggests that he's probably going to be available next round.
Yep.
In fact, Jeremy McNichols is 166, so there's a good possibility that all of these guys are going to be there next round.
The thing about where we're at in this running back class here is that a lot of these guys are just high upside talent with one skill that you might be able to develop another one.
Yep.
So you look at guys like Brian Hill, who has the potential to become a very well-rounded back, but there's question marks about his pass protection. There's also question marks about his durability and how he can handle the NFL. But at the same time, you got a guy like Brigham Young's Jamal Williams, who is high upside in terms of speed. Same with Joe Williams from Utah. You're not picking the well-rounded running back that I think that a lot of Vikings fans are coming into this class hoping they'll get in a Kareem Hunt or a Wayne Gallman at this point. You got to pick a situational skill. So knowing what we have in Murray and knowing what we have in McKinnon, I mean, I think Brian Hill, Jamal Williams, and Corey Clement make the most sense here.
I think there is one complete back that jumps out to me at that list, and I think he's way too low on our big board, like way too low, and that's Aaron Jones out of UTEP.
Okay.
I think he is a complete back. Displays the pass catching abilities, run after the catch, run up the middle, run off onto the flats, blocking, you name it. He can do it. And I think if we wait a while and target Aaron Jones with one of our later picks, whoever gets him is going to be very happy with him. He will not be a training camp cut. I just about guarantee it.
Does his size not concern you at all, Adam?
With running back, everything concerns you in terms of
Fair enough.
being available on Sundays. Look at Eddie Lacy.
Yep.
I don't think size means that you're going to be able to last.
I'm completely fine not selecting a running back in this draft. So I guess I'll kind of defer to you guys and see maybe in a later round we end up there. I think especially at this point, because there's not that all-around guy unless who did you just mention, Adam? Aaron Jones is that guy, like you're saying. I'm not really sure it's even worth it at this point with Latavius Murray and McKinnon.
And since there are a lot of guys that we're considering here, why don't we just kick this can down the road and see what's available?
Who falls to
next
us.
round? Yeah.
Right. So
Here's the thing,
you
though, is
mentioned
what's
Dwayne's-
left here.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, what's left here isn't exactly ideal either. Again, my smoot point from last round stands. I think that Tedrick Thompson is obviously a good safety pick since Austin and I didn't get Marcus May earlier when we wanted him. Jalen Reeves-Maben from Tennessee is super interesting because he's kind of a hybrid linebacker that doesn't have a lot of film because he spent a lot of time injured. I like him a lot. And Jalen Myrick, the Minnesota product, that's a bona fide nickel corner as well, but we just drafted him and Corn Elder. So I think we kind of screwed ourselves over by the ordering in which we drafted players so far.
And we also we also screwed up another way. We haven't started this round yet. So hold on. 15,
also important.
15 guys are about to come off the board right here.
I got Drew's pick, or I got Drew's grade of our last pick while we're waiting.
Okay, go
A+, he says, for Corn Elder, the next Captain Munnerlin, and his name is Corn. So.
Exactly.
Good analysis.
Oh my gosh, all those guys! Wow, we really screwed the pooch there. I have to apologize
All
for that
right,
because all those guys we just
Thompson.
talked about are now gone. So good thing we spent all that time doing that. Maybe I'll just cut all that out.
Do you want to talk about quarterback here? Because we got one of Drew's favorites in Josh Dobbs, and we got one of my favorites in Chad Kelly.
Yeah, tell us
That's
about
good
Chad
background.
Kelly. One of the boards that is in our consensus big board had him at number 3 overall, and said
He's an extremely talented player.
and said that
he hasn't.
if he had
Go
no
on.
off the field issues, that he's easily the best quarterback in this class.
That's wrong. That's a wrong take. I feel pretty confident.
DJ, I'm
saying
telling you,
that's
he had
wrong.
him number 3 overall.
I know.
Like,
I'm answering you. Yeah, I like Chad Kelly. The ACL injury is a huge question mark, just because you don't know what you're getting from an ACL-ridden player. He came from Last Chance U. If you guys watch that Netflix series, actually very good Netflix series, highly recommend it. He was there and ended up over at Mississippi and became a very quality quarterback. I think he represents a high upside option, assuming that his knee is able to hold up in the NFL. I think he's a better option than Josh Dobbs in this point, but I know that Drew, the grader for our picks here, would prefer Josh Dobbs, and I feel like the vast majority of our group here doesn't even want to talk about a quarterback at this point.
Well,
So-
that's
That's
interesting
not true.
because I actually like the idea of drafting quarterbacks in later rounds almost, often every few years, just to see what you have. My question, though, is how does the math work out with the Vikings roster if we take a quarterback here? I know, BJ, you've suggested they may just carry 2. You actually like you like what they have there in
Case Keenum.
Heineke.
in Heineke. Yes, thank you very much. And yeah, well, you don't think Keenum's gonna make it through camp, but you like Heineke as the backup, and then obviously Teddy Bridgewater coming before long.
Yeah.
So if we draft one here, how does this work out?
I would say that most quarterbacks drafted in the 6th or 7th round or picked up as priority undrafted free agents end up on practice squads anyways. I would think that if you're drafting a quarterback at this point, whether it's Dobbs or Kelly, you're looking at a guy that you're going to put on your practice squad and develop kind of as a hedge bet for Teddy Bridgewater's injury.
Sure.
That would kind of be my take on drafting a quarterback at this point.
Right
on.
I don't know. I kind of like George Kittle, the tight end out of Iowa.
I know Drew likes him a lot too.
Well, replace Rhett Ellison with someone like that who's kind of a tweener who can H-back, tight end. I think would add some productions, kind of falls in the line of David Morgan. So that's someone that stands out to me. I don't think drafting a quarterback is a necessity. I think Case Keenum is going to stick around. I think Kittle it's a little bit of a reach just given where he is on our big board. But, if we do want to get a tight end, which I think we do, I don't think he's a bad option.
I mean, at this point, going 20 spots down on the board in these later rounds to get a guy that you covet.
Yeah.
I don't.
We only have 2 picks left, too.
We have 3 picks left after we make this one.
Oh, we 3? Oh, we're in the 5th round. Okay.
Yeah. So we should.
No, we have 2. We have 2 after this.
Well, yeah, but I mean, including this pick, we have 3. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I would say I'm down between. I'm fine with Joshua Dobbs. I'm fine with Brian Hill, and I'm fine with George Kittle.
I vote Kittle. I think he steps in. He's Rhett Ellison's replacement. I think that's important, especially the fullback situation, blocking situation. I think he brings a lot to the team, maybe not on a every snap basis, but when called upon, he brings a lot to a team that needs help blocking and not just along the offensive line.
I was just looking at the highest grade that he has is 154 and the lowest is 175, just seeing if there were a lot of differing opinions on him.
You gotta love the size though that he offers. That 6'4", 250-pound frame with plenty of athleticism. I think that Kittle's a high upside option for sure. I don't necessarily think that he's Rhett Ellison. I think he's more Kyle Rudolph than Rhett Ellison, but I think that he does present an interesting option for a Vikings team that could afford to use some tight end depth at this point.
Okay, so it sounds like if we get Sam to sign off on Kittle, that's going to be our selection here.
Guys, I agree with all of you. Kittle, another good name, and we satisfy the tight end requirement. Make the pick.
Yep.
Double whammy.
I had to wait till Saturday.
All right, so we're running through the end of the 5th round here.
Brendan Langley. I'm watching that name.
I'm not a big Brian Hill fan. I do not mind that he went off the board. I've actually seen a lot of him at Wyoming.
You're not a fan of him? I actually really liked his tape. Okay.
Good? Yeah.
I liked his tape. I thought that he looked like a pretty well-rounded player overall, but I do see the same question marks that I'm imagining that you're seeing as well.
Yeah, I thought he's a well-rounded player as well. I just didn't see him do anything
spectacular.
Spectacular, exactly. And sometimes that works out for whatever reason, but a lot of the time, especially when we're looking at the later rounds, it seems like that could be a hindrance for a prospect.
Well,
all right.
Are we still looking for a safety here? By the way, have we drafted a safety yet?
No.
We have not.
So we're on the clock. This is our 6th round pick. BJ, like you said, there are a couple safeties here at the top. Nate Jerry, Jadar Johnson.
I like Ray Jenkins a lot from Miami. I think that he is a versatile safety, a guy that offers both strong and free skill sets. Dan Skipper is a humongous person, and I think he's like 6'10". I'm not joking. 6'10", 340 pounds or something like that.
Who?
Dan Skipper from Arkansas, the offensive tackle. I think that he's an interesting pick here because I think we've talked about this as a group and individually that offensive tackle isn't shored up at this point. It's just improved. You can still afford to add some offensive tackle depth, and we haven't done that yet with our class yet. So I think Dan Skipper is an interesting option. I would say that, Jonnu Smith, I like him at tight end too, but we just drafted a tight end. Jadar Johnson from Clemson is nice too. Corey Clement at running back.
That's what I was going to say.
Clement's kind of a running back. Clement's kind of a one skill player though. He's going to give you the ability to run downhill very well. He doesn't get to the outside with high efficiency, I don't think.
Wasn't that what we were looking for though? We said that one of these guys we were going to get fills one specific.
Right. That's what you're looking for at this point in the draft anyway.
Adam seems to think the UTEP guy in the 7th round could be our high upside running back, maybe sleeper.
He'd be our Darren Sproles.
Oh, and you've been on Darren Sproles since the moment I met you, man.
Well, I like the idea of a safety. I do. I think that's a good idea.
Which safety do you prefer here, Austin? I think that there's kind of a versatile group of options, and it's kind of pick your poison, especially with Johnson and Jenkins, who the Vikings have met with both of those guys.
I like Jenkins.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with Jenkins off the board here. You got kind of you've got the legacy of safeties coming out of there, so that would be my pick.
Sam, what about some 6'10" ham, man?
It's the ultimate ham pick. I am salivating here as we talk about a man named Dan Skipper that's 6'10" and plays offensive tackle. I can't believe we're even having this conversation. No, honestly, guys, like BJ said, I'm really not comfortable even with the signings at offensive tackle. Just one injury, and I think we have all kinds of problems again, and I think we can pretty much expect at least one injury to happen. So, ham is my pick.
I'm leaning that direction too, and let me tell you why. Because I think we got to keep this name thing going here, guys.
It's true.
I mean, we got Elder, Kittle, and then Skipper.
It's a pretty great class of names.
So I think Skipper would be my pick as well.
Listen, at this point, I'm fine with it.
We got BJ and Austin leaning the safety. Adam, maybe you can push us in a direction between those two.
Skipper's good. Skipper's good.
Tiebreaker.
Yeah, you're the tiebreaker.
I think if you think back, even when Phil Lodeholt was terrible, and there was a point in his career where he was terrible, he was still 6'10" or 11, whatever he actually was, and still able to be effective at times because he was just so freaking large. So in the sixth round, if you're going to go for something that you have high hopes for, why not go for the biggest? I'm going to go with Skipper and hope that if he's called upon, he's at least large enough to get in some people's way.
All right, Skipper it is.
Skipper.
So we haven't drafted a safety and we haven't drafted a 3 technique yet, and we haven't drafted a running back
or a running back,
and we have one pick left.
We're gonna get a trade offer right here.
Charles Walker looks pretty good right now in the 7th round, I would say.
We got any more grades, Sam?
We got a B+ on the Kittle pick, and I'm awaiting his opinion on Dan Skipper.
Skipper.
Oh, let's see.
I know he really likes Skipper too.
Okay.
So we'll get a good grade for that one.
That's what it's about. All right, I don't know. How horrible would it be if we lost this thing at this point?
We're kind of there. BJ brought up a good point about how, we're getting to the last round and we still have some legitimate needs. That's kind of interesting. You do these mock drafts by yourself and you kind of just go, okay, we'll take Foreman and then we'll take Feeney and look at this. We just fill everything. But then the draft actually happens, if this were to be live, and things just change a little bit. I do think we filled a lot of needs, though. Not all our needs. But, let's look at what we're going to do with this last pick.
Yep.
All right, so it's almost here. Sorry, guys, my voice is like really going in and out at this point.
It's all right.
You're doing awesome. Hey, we got a solid B from Drew on Dan Skipper. He says it's pretty hit or miss, but that's how late rounders go. I totally agree. It's a crapshoot.
All right, guys.
Running back.
Running through some of these guys: Freddie Stevenson, Grover Stewart, Kenny Golladay, Ashton Lampkin, DJ Jones, Jimmy Gilbert.
Galladay's a monstrous wide receiver that kind of emulates what Laquan Treadwell does as a wide receiver. So if you're not confident in Laquan Treadwell, that's an option there. Editawu from Syracuse down there at 243 is a guy that the Vikings spoken with. Fred Ross from Mississippi State's a high upside wide receiver talent as well. Yikes! Is that wide receiver?
We still got Adams' guy too. Roll the dice on a running back and
1,000 yards and under 300 touches. Most productive player in this draft.
Do that. I'm good with that pick.
Aaron Jones, Joe Williams, and who was the other one? There's one more running back. Davion Smith from Michigan are all interesting players. Elijah McGuire is a nice pounder if you're trying to get that.
What's your final thought on Jones, BJ?
on Aaron Jones. I think he's more of a scat back, which I kind of liked the idea that you guys brought up that he kind of emulates what Darren Sproles likes to do. I don't think he's very well-rounded. I think he's more Jerick McKinnon than he is Latavius Murray. But I think that in a short passing game, like I said earlier, when you're trying to get the ball into a guy's hands and create yards after catch, he's a good option. He's a good fit for Pat Shurmur. So I can get behind that pick for sure.
He did have a DUI, I believe. He's got – I think that's the one character issue. Just throw that.
Where does your affinity come from for Warwick? Where does your affinity come from for Aaron Jones here? I know the Vikings have looked at him. I know that he had a prolific college career, but you seem very intent on this player being a future Viking.
So yeah, I mean, Sam made fun of me for tight ends on bump and run, but I've also desperately wanted us to have a decent scat back for I don't know, like my entire life. Since Chester Taylor left, I feel like we've missed that element in the offense. And suffered because of it. I think it adds, if he is a scat back, I think he's more complete than you're giving him credit for. But if he adds another dynamic to this team that we don't currently have, and I don't think Jerick McKinnon is that great of a pass catcher. I'll just throw that out there. I think that's overrated or some sort of misperception. But I think Aaron Jones is more complete than you give him credit for. And like you say, catching passes and Pat Shurmur offense, he could do some damage.
I like it. I'm good with it.
I'm 100% okay with that. I mean, I think at this point in the draft, you're rolling the dice. You guys have established that you think running back is a position of need. So I think if the group is okay with that, I'm fine with Aaron Jones.
Pull the trigger.
Aaron Jones. Let's it's running through the rest of the draft, and it's going to give us our summary. But I mean, we can start talking about it. So I mean, let's recap really quick. We got Dan Feeney in the second round. Raekwon McMillan, linebacker out of Ohio State. Ethan Posick, center from LSU, probably going to move to guard potentially. Wide receiver Taywan Taylor, Western Kentucky. Our buddy Corn Elder out of Miami, slot corner. Tight end George Kittle from Iowa. 6'10" Dan Skipper, offensive tackle out of Arkansas for some depth. And then Adam's favorite scat back, Aaron Jones from UTEP. What do you guys think?
Our final grade from Drew here. He gives us an incomplete on Aaron Jones because he has not watched one play of him. So I admire his honesty.
Tell him he's fired.
Tell him to do it. Enjoy it.
Sam, you should ask him for an overall grade on the group that we have now collected, I think.
Yeah, sure. And while you're doing that, BJ, Austin, you guys want to add any thoughts on this? On your thoughts on this class as a whole? Did we screw the pooch here? Are you feeling good about what we leave with? Or
yeah, I really like the top of our draft, the top 3 rounds. Feeney, McMillan, Posick. I think they're all solid players. I think they kind of give you some confidence on offensive line. I think Eric Kendricks kind of has the chance to move around a little bit more in the defense. And then some of the guys on the back end. I really like Kittle. I really like Corn Elder. I think it's a solid draft. I think we kind of screwed ourselves a little bit picking a cornerback earlier than we wanted to. But I'm not upset with it. I think it's a solid class. I'm curious to see what people are going to say when we post this.
I'm kind of with you, Austin. I think that I would give us an overall, I would give us like a B for this class because I do think that we got the need established with Dan Feeney. That was big. I think that's an important pick to make right there, especially given what was still on the board. Raekwon McMillan, I think, will step in and be an immediate starter, an immediate impact player, so that's good value in the third round. I think that Posick offers a kind of both a hedge and also high upside for if Joe Berger were to retire. So I like our first 3 picks a lot. Honestly, the first pick that I'm kind of skeptical of is the one that I picked out myself in Taywan Taylor. I think that he's a high upside talent at wide receiver, but looking back at how the board fell to us in the later rounds, I would have much preferred to get a running back at that point, maybe like a Wayne Gallman or a Kareem Hunt in that 4th round slot. So if I could go back and redo this, I would probably draft a running back there at 120, and then probably take a wide receiver either where we took George Kittle or where we took Aaron Jones. So overall, I think it's solid class. I think that we could do better if we did this 500 more times for sure.
Yeah.
But I like what we were able to to get here. I think that we're a better team in 2017 for sure because of this draft.
This reminds me a lot of
Sam.
Sorry, this reminds me a lot of fantasy football drafts that I have. Where going into it, I have these ideas of how it's all going to work out, and then the board just falls differently, and I think we sort of adapted to that. I can't remember if one of those running backs we were targeted were there when we picked Taylor. I feel like that's kind of why we went to Taylor, because a lot of the running backs went off the board earlier. But I don't know, I'll have to go back and look at that. I love what we did with Feeney in the first round. Love that we got some ham, and really like what we did with the last few picks. In those later rounds, you might as well take a chance on a guy like a Dan Skipper or like an Aaron Jones who have those unique traits that may not work out, but that's kind of how it goes anyway. I have Drew's final grade here. B+ overall for the draft. He says Taywan Taylor. That pick keeps it from being an A, but he loves Feeney and Posich. Great values on McMillan and Elder.
Great.
Adam, you want to add any closing thoughts on this class? Do you love Rick Spielman after this? Do you hate him?
I think we have a problem on defense. After it all plays out, I know someone mentioned that we took a cornerback too early. It was pretty lopsided towards the offense as it is. That being said, I think we got two very talented offensive linemen with two of our top 5 picks, which is obviously a team need that's fulfilled somewhat as long as they pan out. And the Taywan Taylor, honestly, I can't say a whole lot about him one way or the other. Very happy that we got Cornell. They're very happy that we got a tight end that has some upside. And then extremely happy that we got Aaron Jones. Everybody go watch your YouTube highlight videos when this is over, and you'll be sold.
Aaron Jones is going to turn out to be awesome, too, because that's what happens with Adam. He gets on like Hunter Henry last year. He just had
he's going to be running back 7 on the Patriots, and he's going to be Super Bowl MVP. You just watch.
Well, thanks, guys. I think that's it, man. I'm feeling.
We didn't get your review, Brett. Your thoughts on that?
To be honest with you, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Some of these guys I don't know, so I'm with Sam. I'm all about the ham. I've shared some of my mock draft with you guys, and I'm taking offensive linemen with probably over 50% of our picks, just because I feel like maybe we'll hit on them eventually. It hasn't been Spielman's strong suit, but maybe if we spend half of a draft just picking up offensive linemen, maybe we'll hit on a couple. We need depth at tackle. Maybe this guy Dan Skipper, 6'10", will provide some of that depth, but if this was our draft class, that would be one of my biggest concerns, is no depth still, I feel like, on the offensive line. So I like the Raekwon McMillan pick. I don't know enough about Taywan Taylor to really speak to that. And I already told you guys, we knocked it out of the park with the names. So,
great name draft.
Yeah, great name draft. I mean, there's going to be some great jerseys that come out of this thing. So, overall, I like it. So, it was fun. So, thanks everybody for giving us some of your time. I want to tell everybody to visit VT because we are going to have a ton of draft content. So, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we're going to be doing a live draft. We have this big board that we use tonight that you can also find on Fanspeak. Thank you, Fanspeak. This consensus big board is going to be on Vikings Territory. We're going to have instant pick analysis after every pick. We're going to have a live stream of all the tweets from all the experts talking about the draft. And in general, there's just like a lot of really awesome conversation. In years past, it's kind of fun just hanging out and talking with everybody. So please come check us out. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we'll be there. We'll have a ton of content. And I also wanted to drop Sam's Bump and Run, which is back. Go check out the new episode of Bump and Run before the draft because it is a draft-focused episode. It's quick. It talks about team needs and the importance of ham in your diet. And
one more thing, follow all of us on Twitter, but especially this week, follow BJ on Twitter.
Right.
He'll be reporting live in Winter Park throughout all 3 days of the event.
Yep. BJ's going to be at Winter Park giving us some live coverage there.
Which means that this time next year he'll have a new job.
Oh.
No, I'm sticking. I'm here for the long haul. No matter, you can't get rid of me.
But anyway, like, follow, subscribe, share the video, please, and let us know what you think about the mock draft in the comments. We respond to every comment, so I don't know, tell us what you think about our draft, and then you can share your own draft from FanSpeak, and we can comment on your picks. So anyway, all right, thanks, guys. Thanks for dealing with my coughing. I'll try and be a little bit healthier next week. And I think I tried to mute it a couple times, but I was muting the wrong thing, so I think my coughing is going to be throughout the episode. So I apologize to everyone else for that, too. But thanks again, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks, everyone.